Ah, yes, back to the classics. And by classics, I just mean old, because old doesn't always mean good. You'll see. This time we got Corvette for the PS2. I feel like a lot of the games I've been reviewing recently have been average or slightly above average, so they're all kind of towards the middle of the pack in my internal rankings here. So I figured I'd go with something that I knew I didn't really like that much to go a little bit towards the bottom, maybe play a bottom of the barrel type of game here. As I've said a bunch of times before, I had this game as a kid. This is one of the limited number of games I had, and I would come back to this game every like 2 or 3 years because I liked Chevys, I liked Corvettes, I liked racing games, and I'd play it and I'd be like, oh, okay, it's not so bad. And then like a half an hour in, I'd be like, I can see why I stopped playing this game. And then the next half hour I'd be like, I'm never playing this game again, and the cycle would continue. So this is definitely more of an arcade racer than a sim racer. I feel like the game views itself as more of a sim racer. I don't really know how I can explain this, but it just feels like it's trying to be more serious than it actually is. But as the name suggests, every car in the game is a Corvette, which I'd say they did an okay job on the Corvette theme. I feel like it could have been better. I'm a Chevy guy, not necessarily super knowledgeable about Corvettes necessarily, but when I say they did an okay job on the Corvette theme, I feel like they could have had more finer details that I know Corvette people like, because Corvette people are like, this car's one of one in this color with this interior and this transmission and blah blah blah. They're all about the specific details, and while this game has the specific paints, like the names of the paints and each year that they have them, that's just not really enough that I thought that it would really appeal to the hardcore Corvette people. But Cole, how about the gameplay itself? Do we really care about the Corvette part? We just want to race the cars, and well, unfortunately, it's a bit underwhelming. It's just a little sluggish, and the braking and the cornering just doesn't really feel natural. I'm either braking way too early, or I'm just smashing right into that wall. And the computer opponents don't act normal either. They'll shoot off the line, and then they're really far ahead, then they'll slow down, and I'll pass all of them at once, and other times they dud off the line, and I never see them again. It's just all over the place. And some of these courses were on dirt, too, which made those parts even harder, but like it just doesn't make sense because Corvettes have never been designed to be driven off-road. Like, it's just not something they do. They're rear-wheel drive cars. Like, what are we doing? This isn't Subaru, this isn't Mitsubishi. Even Porsches and other four-wheel drive cars have been driven in off-road situations, but Corvettes just aren't one of those cars. It just seems weird, but the tracks do have some nice dynamic scenery. Like there's plane propellers, there's planes flying by, or there's cranes overhead. It makes the tracks more visually appealing to look at, and it just makes the races a little bit more enjoyable. I think the biggest problem I was running into was the game would occasionally freeze when loading onto the next screen, and typically that would happen when I had completed a race and was going back to the career menu to save. And it feels like if I waited a little bit longer after the race was over before hitting the next button, then it wouldn't happen as frequently. But just to be safe, I would save after I did everything in this game, which I feel like took away from the experience a little bit. Another nitpick, God, I'm just being so negative this time, but the challenge mode challenges weren't all unlocked from the start. Maybe having a few that were locked would be okay, but having none unlocked at the start and needing to complete a fair amount of play in the career mode to unlock the challenge mode, I just felt like that was unnecessarily restrictive. Now, if my game was saving correctly, I don't think I would have had as much of an issue with this, but since I had to stare at the loading screen for so long after it would crash, and I had to replay half of the races that I did play through in the career mode, I just was not able to sit through enough of the career mode to unlock enough of the challenges for me to really play them. So that is how that cookie crumbled. Oh, and the traffic. I completely forgot about the traffic until I read it on my script here. The last race in each level of the career mode is a one-on-one race on a longer track, but it has traffic in it. I feel like most racing games just do not handle traffic well, especially older PS2 and PlayStation games. They just get in the way, and if the controls are clunky to begin with, then it just gets even more infuriating when you get held up by the traffic. All in all, I just don't really like this game. I feel like it's worse than the last time I picked it up, and the last time I picked it up, I didn't really think I liked it that much. And I don't know if it was just an issue with my disc that had the saving or what, but the saving issues killed my vibes, the controls killed my vibes, I can see what they were going for with the paints and trying to be authentic, but not really being as authentic as they could have been. So that's Corvette for you. This actually narrowly misses the bad side of my racing games list, which I'm just astonished right now, but that has to be nostalgia talking because I feel like this just isn't that great of a game. But I also look at the games that are on the bad side of the list and, they're all about the same. Well, I was going to make a joke about how they should make a Mustang-only racing game, but I forgot that they already did make a Mustang-only racing game, and they made a Ford racing game, which I own both of those, so yay for me. Hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks for watching. Working on another review soon. See you then.